Hello and welcome to this newest tutorial of mine. This is a Theist Priest for the 100 Kingdoms for Conquest by Parabellum Wargames. The newest sub-faction, the Theist, dropped this year in January. Some of you already got this model from years ago. Some of you will grab this one right now, but all of you want to paint it. I tend to go route for a Teutonic Order like white and black, cause this would complement the rest of my 100 Kings army that's in the style of the Holy Roman Empire. And geographically, on the right northern border there's the Teutonic Order, and this would fit well in the whole army. So we go for this color scheme. I use oil colors and pigment powder and show you through the whole process, as well as the complete base. You see a timeline underneath the video. If you don't like a part, skip to the next one or to the part you can use, and let me know what was the most informative. Let us start with the video, and we start with the already black primed miniature. I start with an airbrush, cause this one is way faster than using a regular brush. I apply charred brown, a dark brown tone, onto the miniature. You see some purple still shining through. This is because I've already painted this miniature for a tutorial for the digital outlet of the Red Lion Con, but I want to repaint this one right now. After applying the charred brown onto base and miniature, I use light brown and start with a soft zenithal highlight to get a feeling on how the color would look sprayed over the brown, and where to intensify the applied coats. You see this light brown is a bit of a yellowish tone. This gives a nice transition from brown over to white, where we are aiming at. Next up would be Vallejo Model Air White. This is a more yellowish white. Don't get confused with the lighting on the video. It's a bit too bright, so it looks whiter than it is for real. And after this I spray a bit of dead white onto the highest surfaces that catch the most light. I tend to go a bit brighter, cause the oil we will apply darken it down and glazing it, so it's cooler if we go a bit brighter than normal. Before I apply the oil colors, I get a coat of gloss varnish to smoothen the surfaces, so that I can remove the oil color later. I forgot this step, but I thought I would mention it right now. Next up is a stippling motion with a sponge of white scar to give some textile defects and visually interesting surface breakups onto the robe, because there are many surfaces that just look bright plain if we don't do this, and I like the style of these roughed up guys in the fantasy setting. Next up, AK Interactives Abteilung 502 or Abteilung 502, mixed with a bit of odorless thinner. Maybe you can work out how diluted this oil color is with the thinner, on how to apply this one. If you want to have a bit more grimy, greasy, dilute it a bit less. In this case it's a mix of glazing and a bit of recess shading to give the miniature a greasy appeal. After I applied this, I gave it roughly 6 to 7 hours to dry, and now I use a, for me, special dry brush that I only use for oil colors, dab it in a bit of odorless thinner and wipe the brush against the structure of the miniature to remove the oil color from the upper surfaces and leave the glazed color in the lower recesses. The stippling from before is applied again, this time with a palette witch flash. Of course, the oil color glazed the bright tone more in this off-white spectrum, and as you can see, I've already applied another coat of charred brown to the base and to the lower coats part to give the appeal of these dirty, roughed up robe. Now we go on to the metal tones. I apply Iron Warrior, a dark metal tone, to all these areas. Of course, I've applied gloss varnish before. The color does not stick that good on the first coat, so I maybe apply a second or third one for a good coverage, and just apply this color on all these parts that need to be metal. In this case, helmet, sword, breastplate, the gauntlet of the right hand, and some additional parts on the hip. I forgot those here in this stage and painted them later, so don't get confused. Next up, lead belcher for a stippling action. Yes, I like this technique. Grab a sponge, put it on the paper towel, remove a bit of paint and stipple it onto the edges of the miniature and work these small stipples into the surfaces where you think the metal should be roughed up more. On such small surfaces, it's not it does not show well enough. If you want to see this technique on a bigger surface, on a bigger model, check out my Conquest playlist. There is a Night of the Crimson Tower tutorial where you can see it way better. Next up, pigment powder. This is applied with a lot of water, diluted down, straight onto the silvery elements. The less dilution, the thicker the rust crust would look like. And if you want to break up the metal surfaces more, or got some of these areas where there's maybe more rust that would gather in a recess, just grab another color. Here I use a brownish, red brownish tone at first, and afterwards apply another one that's more of an orangey tint. You see it on the left side of the plate, where there's a more orangey finish. This one is for the deeper recesses where rust would gather up more. Just apply it as you like, and then leave it for about an hour or 1.5 hours to dry, cause again we will go back to stippling, and if you got a wet surface and stipple, you just smear around all the paint, and you don't want that. Grab lead belcher again. Start on the edges and work into the areas till you're pleased with the result. This is the effect when the metal, the rusted metal, hits something, the rust will be rubbed off and the clear metal underneath showing through again, and so you can work from the edges into the surfaces where you think the rust will be rubbed away the most. On the sabatons, I get this stippling motion with a brush. Of course, there is too few room to get a sponge in, so this is my compensation for this. Next up, another coat, this time with Rune Fang steel. Less as before, cause less is more. And with this technique we can roughen up the surfaces and give it a nice visual touch and get an easy finish. This one could be applied on all the metal miniatures you got, on your Space Marine Grey Knights, Chaos Space Marines, Iron Warriors, on your heavy plated miniatures from other games, Medieval Knights and stuff like this. This is awesome to give more structure to the surfaces. After all the metal silver parts are applied, we go on to the goldy parts. This is the hilt and the pommel of the sword, this small ornament on his breastplate, and some bits and bobs here, like on this bracelet, and these small things on the scabbard and on the belt. As of course I've forgot some on the belt, but I paint in those parts later. You will see it when I've done it. As I like roughed up. Of course I like roughed up metals, and so I go for a patina. In this case it is a turquoise patina tone, and when the Balthasar gold is dried completely, I grab a color. This is called Aquamarine from Vallejo Game Color. Apply it on the paper towel, of course I don't need that much on a wet palette, and wipe it away a bit with a dampened brush, so to use it more as a glaze. If the aquamarine spills over onto a surface that's adjacent to the golden parts, it's not that bad. I try to prevent this on the cloth, but on other metal parts it would look nice if the patina spills over a bit, like move the color pigments, these weathered pigments from the surface onto the adjacent surface. You will see this one on the Archangel tutorial as well, that I'm working on right now, where this patina streaks into the stone areas of the miniature. Next up, I rework the goldy tone with Balthasar gold a bit, cause if you got a patina on the metals and you grab the metals often, the area where you touch it, the patina will be removed. Check out pics of maybe bronze statues where tourists or stuff like this happen, where they touch the statue, the patina will be removed and there will be a goldy or bronze tone underneath. Next up, Rule of Brass, cause I like my gold more like brass or coppery. So I add this color onto the goldy surface till I'm pleased with the brightness. And after that I grab a Runefang steel and add some additional highlights. So these sharp edges where light would be reflected from the hilt and the pommel and stuff like this. And you can use the Runefang steel again to define some of the silver details again. So these maybe sharp lines on the helmet, on the sword, and you can draw in some small lines into the surfaces where there are scratches, like you can maybe see here and there, where I just dip the brush a bit into the surface. There is a scratch where maybe the guy was hit by a weapon and the rust is removed as a result of this. So this is all metals done. We can go further. We go further with leather. All the leather parts are base coated with a dryad bark. This is a very neutral brown color by Citadel. If you're gonna want to go more into a reddish leather tone and stick to the Citadel color range, go for maybe Rhinox hide, or use another manufacturer. This is up to you. This is just an idea. I paint all the leather parts, this parchment paper, and his fur collar, cause this one would be brownish as well. Next up, my basic recipe for brown leather is Kedishan Flesh Tone. This is the kind of mid-tone I'm using, as the dried bark is the shadow tone. This is the heavily applied mid-tone. You can see here there are some leather bands and these belts and stuff like this, and I use the color in a like wet brushing technique onto the collar. Just work against the structure that the fur already provides and leave some of the dried bark showing through, but use a very wettish brush. Next up, Night Quest or Flash for some details, small dots, small lines, and some defects on the material painted in, like on the metals before. Normally I use Gorthor Brown, but in this case this color has dried in the pod and I got no time to get a new one, so I just switched the color a bit. This is a more like skin tone flashy brown instead of Gorthor, but I guess it's okay for this miniature. To finish the leather parts, I use Baneblade Brown. This is the brightest color for all these small scratches and broken up leather areas. Maybe for some inspiration, use a search engine on the internet and search for old or beaten up leather. There you can see some pictures of this. I know this by my reenacting career from the medieval periods. I got pristine fine belts at the beginning, and after 10 or 12 years I got a really roughed up leather belts that are looking so ancient. It's lovely. Next up, apply a Steel Legion drab, so a beige tone, to the paper and to these small skulls I applied to the base, and work out this color. Next is Baneblade Brown. On the paper rolls I leave the small recess where the paper folds over showing through, and on the skulls I just leave the cracks and the eye sockets showing through in Steel Legion drab. So this is kind of my mid-tone that I'm using. The Steel Legion drab is just the shadow tone. This is the mid-tone in between. And the first quote-unquote highlight is Karak Stone. So this is the last highlight on the papers. So just the edges here and there hit up by this paint. And on the skulls I use the bone around the eye, at the chin, the cheeks, and the nose and teeth. Apply another coat of Ushapti bone around the eyes, a small line on the chin, and some small dots on the teeth, and finish it up with Screaming Skull, where the light would hit the bone the most. In this case, my light source comes from above, so the highlight is on the upper parts of the skull. The fur is completed with Mornfang Brown, a reddish rusty brown. Use it like a wet brushing again, but more focused. Start on the raised areas and work a bit into the areas around it to leave all the rest of the color showing through. Important for something like fur, don't go too hard on the details, too bright. This would not look natural, I guess. It needs to be a bit more smooth. Scrag Brown is the next highlight. Apply it on the raised surfaces here and there. This one would give the helmet a nice surrounding so that the eye would be drawn naturally to the miniature's head, and this is good for the viewer to get a clear indication where do I need to look, and you can cheat the eye by this color triangle on, hey, look here, here's the head, and you want to focus on the head or the eyes or stuff like this. So this is a nice way to get this. As a final highlight, it's Deathclaw Brown, partially here and there on the upmost surfaces where maybe light hits the most, or the fur connects the most with metal sometimes from the helmet and is roughed up a bit more, so in this case brighter. Brighter is more roughed up in my case. And then we got all the browns done. There is only black and some final highlights on the robe left. We start with black. My blackish shadow color is Abaddon Black, applied simply straight out of the pot. Don't get too harassed by, oh, I overspilled, cause we still got the gloss paint applied onto the robe. And if you are quick and use a damp brush, you can remove the paint from the surfaces, cause the surface is very, very smooth by the gloss varnish, and there are no small small crackles where the color would set and dry immediately. My mid-tone for black is more of an anthracite color tone. This is Corvus Black by Citadel. I apply it generously and leave some of the Abaddon Black areas for the shadows. As you've seen already, I don't use that much of shade colors or recess shading or stuff like this. I just work my way up like this and work around like this. Is my shadow color, my mid-tone color, and my highlight color. And as I speak of highlights, I will start apply the highlights in Ashen Gray. On black surfaces, it's kind of tricky that the surface did not look too gray, so keep the highlights a bit back. The surface should look like roughed up black cloth and not like gray roughed up cloth. This needs a bit of practice, but I guess you can figure it out. So, as well as on leather and metal parts, just use the same technique with small dots and small lines to break up the edges. And if you spill over, don't get harassed. You can repair it. You can repair it on the robe. Very easy, cause we will touch up the robe after we've done the black parts. Next up, Dawnstone, another color. This would be applied with small dots and lines. You can see it here on the cloth on the arm. This is the roughed up. Okay, the cloth is moving against metal plates and got small damages where the thread is drawn or something like this. This is visually interesting and completely my painting style. Why do I use this black? Again, this should be a Teutonic Order color scheme. My Crusading Noble Lord will get a tabard with white and a black cross, and my militia will get this heraldry as well on their shields. Yes, they will get reddish or yellowish cloth, but the shields would be white with a black cross, completely going into this Teutonic Order style, accompanying my Holy Roman Empire 100 Kingdoms yellowish theme. Last touch-ups with Administratum Grey, the brightest color on this. Keep it a bit back. Remember, this is a black cloth with color defects and not a grey cloth. If you think it's too grey, just hit it up again with a bit of Corvus Black here and there, and reduce the surfaces where you hit it up with the other grey tones, so you can rework or bring back the blackish parts a bit more. In this case, don't get confused, the lighting is very bright on my working table right now, so it looks brighter than it is in fact. Working on the robe, I use Pallid Witch Flesh because this is nearly the color that the oil generated and hit up all these small folds and work in some small scratches here and there. As before, use the brush to add some dots so that the robe would look more interesting to the viewer, because I don't like big surfaces in the same color where nothing happens. And you can use the color to remove some of the overspill or mistakes, because this color is, as I already said, nearly the color the robe is in due to the oil, to the engine grease oil tone. Working out all these small folds and the surfaces, I show this step completely, because I've been asked, hey, can you show it a bit more intense? Because sometimes you just show a step for about 15 to 20 seconds and then skip over it. And here I want to show you where I hit the miniature with the color. All these small folds, leave the recesses mostly untouched. And brighten it up so that the viewer get more interesting pieces in the big or large bright surfaces. If you're fine with it, you can leave it here, but I go a bit brighter. In this case, a clear white. This is a white scar by Citadel, and rework these small scratches and folds again, that it is even brighter and looks more roughed up due to that. Cause in your head, if the highlight is very bright, your head thinks the surrounding area is darker than it really is. So you can trick your eye, trick your brain into thinking, oh, this is a really dark area when you apply this bright of a contrast. And as said before, I show it the whole model around. And if you hit up some of the other areas, don't get mad. You can just repair it. It's not magic. It's just a technical applying of colors. You can hit up surfaces like there on the black part again with another black color and remove the overspill. And then, after we done this and repaired all the overspill, it's time for the base. I've been asked sometimes for, oh Dizzy, how do you do your bases with all these plants and stuff? And I don't show it on each and every tutorial, because it's just a tedious amount of work to get it on each video. So maybe I lead you on another tutorial on, hey, this base work is shown in this one or that one, because on all my Conquest miniatures I used the same techniques for the bases, just maybe vary some of the applied products. So I thought, okay, the last time is a bit long ago, maybe do another run here, so I show you the base from start to finish. If this past Dizzy is done with the white. Come on, Dizzy, go for it. Yes, he's done. Finally, he's done. Damn. Okay, for the base and the stand, I already sprayed it in charred brown. Yes, you know it. You listened to the part. And now I go for a heavy dry brushing with Steel Legion Drab. If you wonder about the stand, it is just a brute or cavalry base and a cut down infantry stand put into the middle part, slightly off center, cause the miniature raises his sword to the left, so that the miniature stands a bit more on the right of the base, that there is no problem with posing the miniature, and then a magnet and everything is fine. Another dry brush step of Baneblade Brown, a bit less like before, and a final one with Karak Stone. Why do I go so bright with the dry brushing? Very easy. I apply loads of coats of white glue later, and this will naturally darken everything down, as well as the mossy flock and all these plants, so that the base is shown through better. First step on vegetation is gamer's grass, dry green, light brown and dense green, these small tufts. You can cut them down if they are too big, or use different ones if you go more for a dry appearance of the bases. Go more on the light brown and light beige colors. I tend to go on a greenish vegetation, so this is my way. Just grab a pair of pincers and apply this with super glue. You could go for white glue for these tufts, but I'm a bit nervous about this, so that they maybe come off easy, so I tend to go for super glue. Only thing with super glue, leave this to dry completely for maybe 2 or 3 hours after applying the tufts, because when we hit it up with white glue later, there could be a chemical reaction between super and white glue that would dry out white. We don't want this. We need to repair this, so we can avoid it by leaving the base some time to dry. And maybe if you go for a full regiment or a full army at this basing technique, you can do it over several evenings, so that there is enough time to dry. The next is Gale Force 9 Dirt Foundation Flock. I use white glue, apply it to the base, a bit diluted with water, so that it flows better into the small recesses, and after that just put the flock over and leave it a bit time to dry. Same on the base. As said before, please leave the super glue enough time to dry, that you don't get this chemical reaction. And as I've been asked a lot about my bases, I show you the whole process here, so you get a feeling on how I proceed with this to get this natural feeling base. Because if you get a good base, the miniature is completed as good as it could been. If you get a rough or a not so cool base, this will drag the miniature's appearance down. Next up, Spring Undergrowth, as well from Gale Force 9. This is a more grassy texture, a bit more brightish green, as the foundation was more of the moss underneath the grass. This is the real kinda grass. Of course, you can go for this with static grass, with this static grass apply machine thing to get real upstanding small sprawls of grass, but I don't own one, and I go for this clump foliage stuff. This works as well. Just grab this Spring Undergrowth, push it a bit onto the white spirit, remove axes, flocks, maybe grab them off the tufts with a pincer or a pair of pincers, and then we are good to go. There needs to be more natural feeling. What is happening on plains where are trees? Yes, there are leaves that fall down from the trees, and so I apply them in the next step. I apply heavily diluted white glue to fix the spring undergrowth, and then apply a bit of these leaf litter by Green Stuff World. These look very nice, like small leaves and stuff like this. And if you like to go more for an autumn theme, you can apply a bit of glazing later on those leaf litter to give it a yellowish or a more reddish appearance. In my case, the leaves fallen off the tree, and then afterwards, when they hit the ground, they got brown. Not like on autumn, when they got brown, reddish, yellowish, orange on the trees and then fall down. This is a nice indicator on which time of the year your army is supposed to walk in. On the base, it's the same heavily diluted white glue on all these small spring undergrowth pieces, and then apply the leaf litter. The white glue will dry out a bit glossy or satin feeling. This would be removed with a matte varnish afterwards, because the miniature needs to be matte varnished as well due to the glossy finish that has been applied before I apply the oil colors. So keep that in mind, it would be removed. And we will add some paper plants by Gamer Grass. These are a bit glossy too on their surfaces, so this gloss would be removed with matte varnish as well. So everything works together. Leave the white glue plenty of time to dry and come back with lilies, lords and ladies, and bracken from Gamer's Grass. Those are already bent before I hit the cam here, and I apply them with super glue. As mentioned before, super glue and white glue tend to do chemical reaction things where they dry out white, and we don't want this. These large stands, like my custom-made hero stands, cavalry or monster stands, or monster bases, are very, very good for these large structure from the bracken, and I tend to glue the end parts of the bracken onto the bases as well, so that they would stick a bit better and don't break later when I push around the stands while playing. If you got low on those bracken and only got these one with the 2 leaves, you can apply some single leaves there so that there is a 3rd strand, and then maybe glue the pieces here and there to the base, or the paper to each another to give more stability. If you go for a more desaturated brownish deserty base, there are already some dry bracken where they are brownish, or you can go for brownish tufts or other dried out plants. The Gamer's Grass got a nice range. It would be nice if they got an affiliate for me, but there is none. Sorry for that. But maybe some of the other YouTube guys out there got affiliate links for Gamer's Grass, so just hit them up so you can save some money and support your favorite YouTuber. Last step, after the super glue dried, hit up the edges of the green plants with a green color. I use Death Guard Green and an old brush, and hit up the lords and ladies and the bracken from the sides, cause they are whitish edges on the printed paper. This is the mechanical issue, but we can fix it with a slight touch-up of green. The lilies don't need to get this touch-up, cause they are whitish on the edges of the of the plant, so there is no need for this. After I hit up most of the edges, there are another edges to be painted. Yes, the base and the stand edge will be painted as usually in a dried bark. After this has dried, everything has dried. The super glue, the white glue, the colors, and maybe I gave them 12 hours to dry completely. I hit them up with matte varnish. If there is moisture on the base left and you hit it up with varnish, they can be these icing effects and you don't want it because it ruins your whole miniature. Leave it time to dry. And then we got the finished miniature. I hope you liked the tutorial. I hope you liked the miniature's style. I will add a magical effect in the right hand later. I need to print one on my Illigo Mars 5 Ultra printer in the right size. Give it a small lighting effect. If you like to see this one, hit it into the comment section, and everything else you got questions or you want to say, hey, this is a cool technique, thank you, there is place in the comment section for this one. Hit up the thumbs up and maybe give me a sub on my channel here to keep up to date and never miss a video I post for Conquest. So thank you for watching. We see us in the next video. Till then, I'm Dizzy, out for today. Keep on wargaming!